Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Bristol in the southwest of England once again, Avon or Somerset if I'm remembering correctly, but we're going to visit one of the best known breweries from the city. So we're going to do my first dedicated review to Arbor Ales. I've had quite a few beers that have been collaborations with them. I think I've reviewed one or two collaboration beers involving Arbor on the channel for you, but this is actually the first dedicated review that I'm doing to them on here. So this one is the Ozbomb. It comes in at 4.7% ABV and it's an Australian style pale ale. It's got Galaxy and Victoria's Secret, and Australia of course is becoming a major hop producer. They've got a hell of a lot of space down there that they can start producing hops and things, so I think we are going to see a hell of a lot more Australian hops and Australian hopped IPAs and things like that over the coming years. But this one should be a really nice beer. Arbor Ales have got a good reputation, and like I've always said, Bristol is a pretty damn good craft beer city in England these days. If you go down and visit Cornwall, make sure you take a little bit of a drive up and visit Bath and Bristol, of course, for all the different beers and things. Some really good stuff going on there. Moor beer, of course, another one that are quite famous in the city. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Arbor before, and no doubt there will be some more in the near future. First dedicated review, like I was saying. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you before. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Arbor Ales then. So as I mentioned to you, Arbor Ales are from Bristol in the southwest of England. As I say, I'm not sure if it's Avon or Somerset or exactly what county it is down there, but they were founded by Jonathan Cromer, who was previously a network design engineer, and the company opened back in 2007 and expanded quite rapidly throughout 2008 and 2009. But John basically built up Arbor's reputation by rarely brewing the same beer twice, and he was experimenting with a lot of New World hops, Australian hops, New Zealand hops and things like this before it really became normal in the industry. If you go back to 2007, that's pretty much 10 years you're talking about, which in the craft beer industry is a huge amount of time. I remember back when Brewdog were first opening up in 2009, and things just, you know, have gone exponential since then. But 2009 saw the company buy their first pub, which was the Old Stillage, and then in 2010 they bought their second, which is called the 3 Tons, and that one's located in Hotwells. But they say that their motivation is basically to brew beers that they would enjoy themselves, and in 2015 they had to move to a new, I think, 7,000 square foot facility, which is located in Easton in Bristol, and ever since then they've been continually expanding their capacity, and their beers are exported to different places across the world now. I'm sure I've seen some of these beers in Germany actually, in some of the craft beer shops over there, and I do know that they are exported over to the US and things like that as well. So they probably are one of the best known craft breweries from the Bristol area. I think Moor beer are pretty well known as well, and like I say, overall as a city, Bristol is doing some pretty damn awesome stuff, and Arbor are one of the breweries at the forefront of that. But these guys are actually kind of, I guess they're one of the older breweries you could say in the craft beer industry. They might only be 10 years old, but in terms of craft beer brewing and things like that, that is one of the more kind of established craft breweries, if you like, which is kind of crazy to think about. But as I say, a brewery that has a really good reputation, and if you get the chance to try some of their beers, I do recommend that you have a look at them. This is my first dedicated review, like I was saying, but I have tried a number of them on tap. So yeah, that's all you need to know about the brewery just now. Let's get on to the actual tasting of the beer. If you want to learn more about them, of course, the links to the brewery website and stuff are in the description below. So on the back of this beer it says, "We brewed this hoppy golden ale with the sole intention of showcasing the hop varieties that we selected. In this case we paired 2 Australian varieties, Galaxy, one of our personal favourites, and Victoria's Secret, a relative newcomer that we've immediately fallen in love with. The result is an easy drinker with pronounced tropical fruit flavours and aromas," and it says heavily hot golden bitter, brewed with a small amount of caramel and plenty of Australian hops. So yeah, it should be really nice. 2.7 UK units, always good, and 568 millilitres. So if I'm remembering correctly, that is the volume of an imperial pint. I actually thought it was 562, but I guess it must be 568 if they're bottling it at that volume. And again, the pints, you've heard me complain about measurements before. I don't know why, you know, American and British breweries generally can't just use millilitres, you know, use a half litre as the Germans do. The Belgian breweries do that a little bit as well, I guess. They use 330 mils, which is pretty much a third of a litre, so I can understand that, but I don't understand the point in using pints and fluid ounces and all of these sorts of things. But I guess in fairness with this one, when it's an imperial pint, you do get a little bit more beer, which is never something to complain about. But yeah. So yeah, as you can see and as you would expect, this beer's poured a really nice kind of hazy golden colour. There's a solid finger of a frothy white head on top of that, one or two little bits of sediment floating around, and some bigger bubbles sticking towards the edge of the glass there. I think that must just be because I'd kind of washed it out and left it to sort of drain out. But yeah, it looks really nice and pretty much exactly what you would expect from the beer. I think the beer is actually a little bit lighter than you guys are seeing on the camera. It's actually quite a bright orangey yellow, this one, when you put the light through it, but you can smell some of these nice lovely tropical fruit aromas coming out of it. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Yeah, so with this one, you can smell a nice little bit of bready and almost biscuity malt base to it, which is quite interesting. Yeah, and it's definitely a little bit of an almost digestive, McVitie's digestive biscuit that's coming out of this. So there is a little bit of richer sweet caramel to it, but there is a bit of a kind of bready note in there as well. But the hops are coming out quite nicely on this, so yeah. From the Galaxy, I always find you get passion fruit from that, and you can pick that up right away with this one. It's quite a juicy, passion fruity note, but there's some other things. The Victoria's Secret, I've come across that before, but it's not... it's just one that's not as familiar to me as other ones. But from what I remember, you get a sort of almost like a kind of pineapple-y, peachy sort of thing from it, and you can definitely detect that in this beer. It definitely has some of that kind of lighter, more juicy tropical fruit, if that makes sense. The passion fruits, I always find when it comes to Simcoe, it comes to Galaxy, you always get quite an oily passion fruit out. With the Galaxy though, it does have a little bit more of a kind of juicy complexity to it. You do get a little bit more of a slightly citrusy note, if that makes sense. You do get a little bit of that lighter kind of tropical fruit, pardon me, complexity to it. But you can really pick that up in this beer. This one's quite juicy, so I would say, you know, passion fruits, a little bit of pineapple, maybe, I'm not sure quite about the sharpness of peach, but it does have a little bit of an almost kind of apricot-y thing going on. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some sort of lychee or something like that in there. Maybe, probably papaya actually rather than lychee. Papaya is probably a good way to kind of describe this one, but definitely it's a sort of kind of candied tropical fruit salad thing that's going on with this one. That's probably a good way to describe it. There's a little bit of floral aromaticity, of course. You can pick up a wee bit of an almost piney resin in there, but it's a sort of spicy floral aromatic note, and there is some grassiness as well. But I think that's a good way to kind of summarise the aroma. It's mainly tropical fruit, as I say, passion fruits are in there, a little bit of pineapple, then you've got some apricot-y notes, and probably some papayas or something like that, some piney resins, a bit of floral aromaticity, and then you've got that kind of bready, mainly biscuity malt base coming out of it too. But overall, it does smell really quite nice, and it is cool to see an English brewery, of course, showcasing the Australian hops. Australian and New Zealand hops, particularly the New Zealand ones actually, tend to be really damn good and really nice and fruity. So I'm very excited to try this one. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. So this one is the Osbom, a 4.7% Australian Pale Ale from Arbor Ales down in Bristol in the southwest of England. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte. Yeah, that's quite a nice easy drinking one, that actually. I do like how that, it just goes together really well. That's probably what it's designed for, you know, it's supposed to be a sessionable beer. Yeah. First thing you're going to notice about that is just how kind of easy going it is actually. I like how it comes across. So yeah. The malt base, as I've said in numerous reviews before, I do like it when you have these nice hop forward beers, but there is a little bit of malt base there, a nice little bit of sweetness to kind of back up. So with this one, you've got a nice little bit of that kind of bready base to it. I'm not sure if it's simply just pale malt. I think there might be a little bit of wheated malt or something in there. It does have just a little bit more of that thickness to it. Right in the middle of your palate, there's a little bit of an almost kind of as you would say, buttered kind of toast sort of flavour. There's a little bit of a biscuity sweetness there, and you can feel, if you just go down the middle line of your tongue, there is a little bit of that richer caramel in there, but mainly it's a nice white bready coating there that's going right across your palate. It's really nice. And it really does give the beer a nice easy-going malty backbone. I do like how that comes across actually. As I always say, you need a good malt base to back up your hops, but the hoppy side of this beer, of course, is where the focus really should be. So yeah, as you would expect with this one, in the back corners of the palate there's a teeny tiny little bit of earthiness, maybe even a little bit of herbal quality there as well. But as you come further forward along the sides of your palate, you can feel there's a nice sort of floral aromatic note coming out of this one. It is kind of spicy in there. There's a nice sort of piney resin, sort of floral aromatic spice, and then as you come further around the front curve of your palate, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy, so it's got those typical kind of hop backbone flavours, but the complexity of the hops, as I always say, comes out in that little bit behind the front curve of the palate, where you get the nice juicy fruity notes. So yeah, as I always say, just pay a bit of attention to that little oily bubble behind the front curve of the tongue. For me in this one, there's a little bit of passion fruit in there, but to me, it's really leaning a little bit more towards the Victoria's Secret side of things. Actually, it's leaning a little bit more towards the kind of juicy, fruity side of things, rather than the sort of more oily fruits, if that makes sense. As I always say, passion fruit for me tends to have this quite oily flavour, although like I said, in fairness, Galaxy does have some of that kind of citrusy complexity to it, but with this one, yeah, you can feel the passion fruits kind of underpinning this one. There's a little bit of pineapple in there. I want to say there's a wee bit of papaya. I'm not sure if there's maybe even a little bit of mango or something in there, but yeah, pineapples, a little bit of papaya, some mango maybe. And it's just interesting how everything goes together in this one. Like I say, Victoria's Secret isn't a hop that I've come across all that often, but it's certainly given some really nice tropical fruity notes in this one. It's almost got quite a kind of candied fruit flavour to it, this beer, which is quite interesting, just candied tropical fruit. But overall, I'd say this one, it's got a nice kind of hoppy bitterness to it, but it's more about how the flavours blend together. I do like how that malt base just has a little bit more prominence. Normally in a pale ale, you would expect just a kind of straight up white bready, wheaty malt base, but with this one, it's like it does have a little bit of that, just that sweetness to back up these big kind of punchier hoppy flavours. But overall, it's a really quite nice beer. So if you get the chance to try this, have a go at it. And it's not often, from an English brewery at least, that you'll find these Australian hopped beers. They're really pretty damn good, I have to say. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say it's probably light to mid-bodied. Yeah, I think it's on the lighter side of mid-bodied. Carbonation's quite smooth. It's got a bit of an oily mouthfeel, this one. There's a good bit of hoppy bitterness to it, like I was saying. Some juicy fruity notes, and then there's a sort of bready, that malt base does have a little bit of sweetness to it, and I do like how that kind of goes together. It almost blends quite well with the slightly juicier tropical fruit notes that you're getting on this one. As the beer mellows out, you do start to get a little bit more complexity from the fruity side of the beer, and this kind of sweeter biscuity notes do start to push their way out again. So in the aftertaste, I'm finding this one, it does have a little bit of a graininess from the malt base, but the sweetness really does start to push its way out and balance with the juiciness later in the aftertaste. But overall, you know, it's another really, really solid beer from Arbor Ales. Is it the best one they've ever produced? To be honest, I don't know, because I haven't tried that many of them, but for me, it's a really quite nice pale ale. And when you're jumping around breweries, as I do with the beer reviewing, if you can get a solid beer like this, it's always plus points. So yeah, this is a really quite nice beer, and I do like the novelty of being able to have an Australian hopped pale ale, which isn't so common in Europe these days. But a really nice beer, and a big thumbs up once again to Arbor Ales for this. So I do need to make an effort and try and review some of their other beers. I think I need to review a stout or something from these guys and see how they do it at the other end of the spectrum. But a really nice pale ale, this one, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So if you want to try some unusual hops, if you like tropical fruit kind of IPAs, this is one that's really going to float your boat. I think that's a good way to summarise it. So yeah, this one was the Ozbomb from Arbor Ales down in Bristol in England. It's been really cool to review this beer for you. As always, let me know your own thoughts on it in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Arbor Ale, and do let me know some of the other breweries that I should check out from the Bristol area as well. But thank you once again for watching. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media, and do let me know your own thoughts on these beers like I was saying. So until the next time, it's Land just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Ozbomb from Arbor Ales down in Bristol, a really nice pale ale, this one that has a little bit more of a malty character, definitely for those who love tropical fruit pale ales. Check it out. Cheers.